Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So, an important thing, none of the videos here are for commercial reasons. It's only for co-learning and making it a point that the world is a place to learn and grow. So, today I'll be talking on hedging against the cost of investing in digital solution. How do we hedge? How do we balance out our risks? For that, I would like to get into the shoes of the stakeholders, the CEOs, the CIOs. How do they decide on a digital solution cost? How do they prioritize? How do they hedge their costs? And why do they need to hedge against their costs that they put in? Other day, I was trying to understand how a robotic process automation can bring in the actual revenue recognition and actual cost recognition to get the right gross margin or profit before tax. My question is, why did we need a robotic process automation to get something as simple as gross margin for an industry? The reason being data correctness, trust on data. There are a lot of manual interventions. That made me compile this video wherein I'm trying to explain the two glass theory. Hedging the cost. Let's assume the glass 1 is more like a core data quality driven architecture, and glass 2 is a data quality driven architecture. Along with it, it's more futuristic roadmap. So let's assume glass 1 has roadmap 1 for the digital solution architecture and glass 2 has the roadmap 2. Let's take glass 1. So typically, we have been seeing the data warehouses, data lakes, lots of redundancy, lots of layers data is stored. So glass 1 or roadmap 1 focuses on absolutely reducing the layers and making the entire data from different sources being read virtually into one layer at the lowest grain. One important thing here is that by lowest grain, I mean that level of layer wherein even a robotic process automation can create a general ledger account, as well as a human intervention can create a general ledger account and put the data into that layer. Now, that layer is what I call a common layer for transactional and analytical reasons. This layer would be the only place where data would be stored in memory at the lowest grain. Now, below this, data is stored nowhere. It is all read virtually. And only the top high key value propositions based KPIs such as turnover, creditors, debtors, profit before tax, production, dispatch, all these would be stored as a physical form at the lowest grade. Now, on top of this, it can go to descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics. All the data science and machine learning modeling will happen on top of this. And on top of this, we can do a transactional process, whether we call it a general ledger posting or a sales posting, or it can be a financial document posting or a sales order. Eventually, it would be done by business users into this layer. Now, this layer, we can't afford to keep everything into this layer. This layer would have only high key value propositions based data, physically stored at lowest grade. So, other day I was talking about inverted on the fly mechanism for hedging the risks, hedging against the risks. Now, inverted on the fly mechanism means, as I told you, across all the sources, data would be read, it won't be stored, and it would be only stored in one place physically, that too the high key value proposition based KPIs. Rest all would be read virtually. The point here is that being an in-memory storage, the performance would be very good. Second, it would be real time. Whatever transactions we are doing, data would be stored here, and we can do a descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics on top of that. Now, this is hedge against the CIO investment one approach. Now let's mix the other hedge. We will try to again get into a digital solution for a particular business unit. Let's assume we have hedged our cost for a particular business unit X on an approach 1. The approach 2, that is glass 2, would be the next gen approach wherein data won't be loaded anywhere physically. In the approach 1, we had data loaded at least in a physical layer for the huge key value proposition based KPIs. In this approach 2, which we have picked out for our business unit 2 for hedging our CIO cost, hedging against the CIO cost, we try to make sure that data is on the fly complete. It means we store the data in clusters, but we don't store it physically. We have certain rules or protocols based on which data is read from the sources on the fly, and we do a descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive on top of this without the need to store the data. We have to make sure that the approach 2, which we try to hedge against the CIO investment to balance it out, needs a thorough intervention of the architects, wherein the protocols written for reading the data from the sources without storing is meeting the business requirements. Hedge 2, that is the approach 2, mostly aspires the data to be put into wires. That is the true digitalization or digitization, whatever we call it. Now, the advantage of Hedge 2 is more compared to Hedge 1, the approach 1, because data is stored nowhere physically in the entire data warehouse, data lake, or database. It is all read virtually, and it is provided to business users for descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics. Only one place data would be stored would be when business users do the transactions, if they need to create the postings. So I would try to come up with a more detailed approach on this Hedge 1 and Hedge 2. The approach 1 and approach 2 for CIO cost balancing to implement a digital solution architecture. Remember, a robotic process automation can be a solution to get into some intricacies like the gross margin or the revenue recognition or the cost recognition. But my question is, do we need a robotic process automation for something as simple as getting your gross margin? If you need to get the answer for that, then you need to watch my next video, which is how to hedge against the risks of CIO cost on implementing digital solution architecture. I would again like to close this video on a note. The world is a place to learn. So any knowledge or information shared across in this video is for non-commercial reasons and only for the sake of co-learning. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.